Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the long-awaited regular city council meeting for April the 7th. It is 6 o'clock, the magical hour. We'll go ahead and begin. And at this time, would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Councilmember Dennehy,
Here.
Maloney,
Here.
Schmisher. Here. Stein.
Here.
Tracy. Worthington.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick.
I'm here.
Mayor Troutman.
Here. Is Bradley Buck here for the invocation? If not, would you rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. So at this time is the time for the citizens' request to talk to council. And the first one I had here on my desk is Brandon Mayers. Brandon, would you like to come forward?
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of council. My name is Brandon Mayers, P.O. Box 708, Canyon City, Colorado. Some of you may know me within my normal capacity, but for this particular moment, I am coming to you just as a private citizen and individual American. I'm not even clocked in, so we're good there. I tend to be a fairly private and somewhat shy individual and rarely feel the need to get up in front of council, but I wanted to speak a bit about something that I have great passion for. I come before you today because of recent cuts to programs on a national level that can and most likely will have impacts that trickle down to our local level. Recently, the Institute of Museum and Library Services has, for the most part, been gutted and shut down. It is a relatively small federal agency, but with a wide impact throughout the country. They help supplement much-needed funding for libraries and museums of all shapes and sizes, especially in smaller, more rural communities such as ours. My mother was a librarian in this community since I was born. Before she unexpectedly passed away last year, she served this community through our wonderful public library for over 40 years. I was raised in that beautiful historic Carnegie building, and I credit that upbringing for my ability to understand and see things from more than one perspective. My mother was also a registered Republican. Now, I only mention this because no matter what political party you may subscribe to, it feels like in today's society we seem to stick to our own tribes and live solely within our echo chambers. But this gutting of a relatively small but very helpful agency doesn't seem to help alleviate what has been construed in others' opinions as waste or fraud. This isn't a Republican versus Democrat issue. This should be as bipartisan as it gets. In fact, this shouldn't even be an issue, but sadly it seems to be one now. We should all support libraries and museums because they provide services, knowledge, and sanctuaries for our heritage, as well as a haven for those who cannot afford to buy the books they need or find the help they are seeking, among a myriad of other very awesome and unique services. Now, some may say or be of the opinion that because they don't personally use a library or visit a museum, that this doesn't affect them in any way, and they don't need or want their tax dollars going to such things. And that is certainly an opinion, and in this country, that is still currently a freedom we have. One of the many important things I learned whilst growing up in a library is that opinions are very rarely rooted in fact and are generally based on emotion. And without proper critical thinking skills that we all can gain through visiting libraries and museums, it is easy for those emotions to get manipulated. As for my own opinions, I don't have any children, but my tax dollars still pay for public schools, and I am very glad that it does. You won't see me calling it waste or fraud. I don't find myself calling the police or fire department every day, but I'm glad my tax dollars still pay for them for when I may need them. We all pay taxes in this country in one way or another to provide services that we as an individual may never actually need or use. But that doesn't mean those individuals or large groups of Americans that do need these services should go without. And definitely not because those with the loudest voices deem them to be waste and fraud. There is nothing wasteful about libraries and museums. They work with some of the tightest budgets imaginable. I know this firsthand. And the people who work in libraries and museums, like my mother, they don't do it for the money. They do it because they feel that they truly make a difference and can change people's lives. I also know this firsthand. So I ask you, as our elected officials and representatives, to do what you can in support of libraries and museums. Reach out to our other elected officials on a state or national level. I already have, but I'm just one little nobody in this world, and I think that if you could reach out on our behalf, that it would be that much more of a meaningful impact. This country can be more enviable when it puts the well-being of its citizenry above petty political differences and opinions. This country is smarter when it bases its decision-making on facts over opinions, and this country is stronger when it is educated. We shouldn't allow the loudest voices to pit each of us against each other. We have more in common than we are different, and I urge everyone to visit a public library or a museum, and you too will see that firsthand. So I very much appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me, and thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay, next is Emily. Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to thank Citizen Brandon for his comments. That's all.
Thank you. John?
Thank you. And it's one thing to write to our representatives saying we support libraries and museums, but Brandon, perhaps at some point you could give us some specific examples of programs or what you view as being cut that should not be cut. And you know, I'd be glad to hear that, have those facts if we're going to be rational and base opinions on facts. I'd like to have be armed with some of those.
Absolutely. I have I didn't hand them out to you, but I do have a thing sent from the state library that kind of breaks down a little bit of the IMLS funding that they would be losing. And then I'm not in the best position as not being a professional librarian anymore as to what specific cuts would actually affect us locally at some point, but we do have, a wonderful library and wonderful library director, wonderful museum director, and I'm sure that they could probably be able to assist with those facts as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you have something in writing that you would like to give to Denise, that could be disseminated to the rest of the council.
Absolutely.
Right, thank you. Any other comments? And then we have Mr. Dennis Weed. Would you like to come forward? Discussing code enforcement.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm here to talk about code enforcement. Were you aware of the fact that if you ever had a piece of furniture in your house, chair maybe, that you wanted to use as outside furniture, that's not allowed? That's a code violation? Pretty interesting, huh? How about patio refrigerators for a cookout or whatever? Those aren't legal. Do you know that code enforcement gets to decide what kind of firewood is appropriate for you? You don't get to decide that, they decide it for you. Quite frankly, I am so pissed off that I'm not going to say anything about code enforcement other than what I just said. But I will invite every single one of you to come and take a look at my piece of property that is currently the subject of draconian code enforcement. It's at the southeast corner of Cottonwood and Main. I'll say it again, southeast corner, Cottonwood and Main. It'll only take you a minute to drive by. I invite you to come by, take a good look, mentally note all of the health and safety issues you see that are life-threatening and need immediate attention, and bring them to my attention. They'll be happy to fix them. But I'm serious. I'd like you to come by. Pay particular attention to the outrageous choice of furniture that I have, or seating that I have decided to use around my fire pit there. It's outrageous. I'm sure you'll be flabbergasted that anybody in their right mind would even conceive of doing something like that. And I guarantee you, our code enforcement cannot conceive of it. But, so, southeast corner, Cottonwood, Maine, swing by, let me know what you think. Thanks.
Any questions of Dennis? I drive by there every day. I never would have thought that. Just saying. Anyway,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, go by and talk to Dennis, anybody there, take a look.
Okay.
Thank you, Dennis. Okay, we've got the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and I have a proclamation. Is Commander Bell here? Would you like to come by? Then we'll read you all have the proclamation, all of you. I'd invite you to help me read it. And so, Tim, I'm going to call you Tim. Can I do that? Is that okay? Yes. All right, thank you. That's how I know you anyway. So we're going to read the proclamation, and then maybe you can answer questions for us if there are any. So I'll go ahead and start off. This is the Communications Week. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and
whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, and
whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone Canyon City Emergency Communications Center, and
whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and
whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety, and
Whereas public safety telecommunicators of the CRCA agency have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and
whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year.
Kathy, I'll do the last portion. Is that okay? Now, therefore, I, Preston Troutman, Mayor of Canyon City, declare the week of April the 11th through the 17th, 2025, to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Canyon City in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and our citizens safe. So we thank you. Would you like to comment on this, either of you? Commander Bell?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and members of council. We frankly just could not do our job without our dispatchers. And personally speaking, behind me is Angie Clausen. She is the director of FreeCom. And I can't tell you how many times in my 24-year career I have needed that person on the other side of the radio to do something to get me help. In fact, Angie was one of the ones, actually she was the one on the other side of that during a critical incident that I was involved in. And that calm voice on the other side of the radio is something that you can't attach a price to. And just very grateful for our dispatchers and our CRCA board and all of the dispatchers in that center. So, Angie, do you want to say something?
I just wanted to say, Mayor and members of the council, thank you so much for this proclamation. It's an honor. The staff that we have at CRCA is diligent, professional, compassionate, and caring, and they really strive to provide the best service possible to the citizens of Canyon City, Fremont County, and Custer County at large. A lot of people don't realize the training that goes into being a telecommunicator. Our training program is between 6 to 8 months long, and there's a lot of different software and different skills that they need to hone in order to do this job successfully. So it's not something that's a very easy job, and we're very proud of the staff that we have, so thank you.
How many communicators do you have?
Right now we have 20, 5 of those are still in training, so we have 15 full-time
And they're 24
communicators.
hours a day, 7 days a week?
Yes, sir.
And what agencies do you help?
We partner with the Canyon City Police Department, Fremont County Sheriff, Florence Police Department, the Custer County Sheriff's Office, as well as Canyon City Fire, the Florence Fire District, Tallahassee Fire District, Deer Mountain Fire, Western Fremont Fire, Howard Volunteer Fire Department, Arkansas Valley Ambulance Service, as well as Wet Mountain Fire, Wetmore Fire, and Custer County EMS.
It's a huge undertaking,
Yes.
huge job you have. So, John, go ahead.
They do a great job.
Thank you. I do represent council on the CRCA board as an alternate. Chief John Schick is the primary member, and I get to interface with Angela on a monthly basis. If we have diligent, professional, compassionate, and caring dispatchers, it's because of the leadership we have in that organization. I'd like to commend you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like us to can we take a picture? Let's do that.
Mayor, I apologize. If I could just have one last thought,
Yes.
is that as wonderful as Mr. Hamrick's comments were, I just want everybody to know I couldn't do this alone. We have a deputy director there, Lindsay Hubbard, who also she handles all the operations, and she does a fantastic job too. And the supervisors that we have there are outstanding as well. So it's not just a one-person leadership team. There's several of us, and I just want to give a shout out to all of them as well.
Okay. Thank you again. Thank you for the support. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I think we skipped the portion of the agenda where we get to comment on things.
I didn't do that on purpose. I may have, but I'm so sorry that should we take a break between, we have one more proclamation to do. If you don't mind, we will go back. Thanks for correcting me. And I haven't done this very often. But anyway, so any comments from, it's not on here, from council? Number 6, recognition proclamations. So, any from council would like to make a comment, or Amy?
Thank you. I have two quick things to flag. One, huge shout out to our Public Art Committee staff liaison, Ryan LeClaire. As members of council and members of the public who have joined us here this evening may have noticed, we have a whole bunch of student artwork down on our first floor. It'll be up for several more weeks, and I invite everyone in the city to come out and see the wonderful ceramics, paintings, sculpture, and other artistic media that the kiddos in our community have so kindly loaned to the city. So just thank you to FCA and to city staff for putting that together. My one other thing I wanted to plug is, I know that we have a number of members of the Canyon City Area Rec Board in our audience this evening. As folks may know, there's a special election on May 6th. And RG Rio will be using our chambers on April 29th from 6:30 to 8 to host a forum of the 6 candidates who are running for the 3 rec board seats. It's obviously not a city council sponsored event, but given that all of our city residents are also residents of the rec district, I invite everyone to tune into the RG Rio Facebook page or attend in person to get to know the candidates that are running for that important board. Thanks.
Okay, John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also have a couple of other things to add about our FreeCom 911 or CRCA. A couple of interesting factoids for you, but one of the things that is going to happen June 1st is that the tax that we pay on our cell phones, the fee that we pay on our cell phones is going to go from $1.70 per month to $2.12, and that is money designated for districts so that they can make sure that when someone calls 911 that the call goes through, and that's going to be happening. One of the things that I heard in one of our meetings is that right now we have 45% of our county signed up for reverse 911 notification, which is a pretty good number, really. But it's never really good enough until you get everybody, which would be important. But so if you haven't done that, you can go on the web, and I think there's a link on our city page to be able to sign up for that. Another quick factoid is that our prison population in the county is 5,200 approximately, which I thought is, you often don't hear that exact number, and I'm not quoting an exact number because it does vary as the course of things progress. One of the measures of dysfunction in a 911 center is if emergency calls are put on hold and for that have not been reviewed. The issue is that you want to prioritize 911 calls, and if you have someone calling to say there's someone breaking into my house versus someone calling to say my cat's up the tree, you obviously want to prioritize one over the other. Our call center routinely has very few of those, and none for any appreciable time are people put on hold. And none are put on hold until they've been at least gone through the first level of prioritization. Some of the kind of the inner workings that you don't see too much is that one of the issues that we have with our technology as it is today, with body-worn cameras by all of our police department, all of the police pretty much, that has been a requirement from the state. Those records belong to the police agency or law enforcement agency that developed them, and not the 911 call center. They develop records because of they're taking a call, it's being recorded. They have different reports and forms and things that a lot of times defense attorneys would like to access. And so how that happens is, of course, a very important issue, because you don't want to be favoring defense over prosecution. You need to have the public defenders and the district attorney both on the same page when it comes to those kind of requests. So that's something that's is evaluated and looked at, and there's actually a policy that talks about the ownership of records for the call center. Just something that I thought you'd be interested in hearing about. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Emily?
Thank you. I'd like to invite everyone, any interested person in the community, to the next meeting of the Community Advisory Group for the Lincoln Park Cotter Superfund site. It will be Tuesday, April 15th at 6:30 in the evening in person at the Hampton Inn on the east side of Canyon City. We're moving along, slow as it is, we are moving along, and we have a draft plan of what the new sampling will be in community areas that might be at risk of having been contaminated by past activities at the site. And our technical advisor, a company called Skio, is going to present their findings in regard to that draft plan. So we expect it'll be a very interesting meeting and worthwhile to attend if you have any interest in what's going on with the Cotter site. Again, it's April 15, 6:30 at the Hampton Inn.
Thank you, Emily. Anyone else? And this morning I attended what's called the Compass, which is a group of individuals associated with the school system. And I'm very proud of our school system, by the way. And I found it very interesting of all the construction that you're going, almost every one of our schools is getting some kind of upgrade or additions. And they say that they're on schedule and under budget. So Ryan, we may want to hire some of those people that, and they're so much so on one of them, I think it's a high school, that they're thinking they can now take some of that money and enhance and make changes to Citizen Stadium. So the citizens, when you go there, would have better access and the ticketing and everything else. But if you go on the website, the tremendous things going on with our school system, and I couldn't be prouder of them for what they do and for the students that they do graduate. So, but I was there this morning. So thank you. Anyone else? Now, let's move on. We have another proclamation for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And Ashley, would you come forward? And we will go ahead, if you don't mind, we'll read the proclamation first and then have you make comments if that's okay. I will start out. Whereas April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in the city of Canyon City. And Kathy, you will start.
Whereas every day, women, men, and children across Colorado suffer the pain and trauma of sexual assault upon survivors and our communities, and
Whereas this crime occurs far too frequently, goes unreported far too often, and leaves long-lasting physical and emotional scars, and
Whereas during National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we recommit ourselves to lifting the veil of secrecy and shame surrounding sexual violence, expanding support for victims, and strengthening our response. And
whereas sexual violence affects individuals of all ages, backgrounds, and circumstances, and
Whereas, as a community, we share the responsibility for protecting each other from sexual assault, supporting victims when it does occur, and bringing perpetrators to justice, and
Whereas at every level, we must work to provide necessary resources to victims of every circumstance, including medical attention, mental health services, relocation, and housing assistance, and advocacy during the criminal justice process. And
Whereas the City of Canyon City can come together to increase awareness about sexual violence, decrease its frequency, hold offenders accountable, support victims, and heal lives.
now therefore, be it resolved that the month of April 2025 is hereby designated as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Canyon City, and hereby urge the community to work together to educate themselves about sexual violence prevention, to support survivors, and speak out against harmful attitudes and action. Dated this day of April 2025. So Ashley, would you like to comment, please?
We just appreciate that you guys are doing the proclamation, and awareness is truly one of the biggest tools for prevention. If people don't know where we are or what we do, they don't know how to reach out for help. And sexual assault is a taboo subject. People don't talk about it, and that is why it is so common. The more awareness, the more resources, the better off victims will be. And last year, for 2024, Family Crisis was able to help 274 victims. And out of those victims, 21 of them needed stable housing. They were able to get stable, safe housing away from abusers, 21 households with 35 children. So we're here, and we're trying to help as much as we can, but the awareness piece for proclamations, we have a Take Back the Night event on April 24th at Veterans Park from 5 to 7. We encourage everybody to come out and support. It's a rally, so just really bringing it all out of the dark and saying it's okay to talk about, and it's okay to get help.
Thank you. And what was that date again?
April 24th,
What time?
5 to 7,
At
Veterans Park.
Veterans Park. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions from council? Can we take a picture up front again?
Yep, and I brought you guys some ribbons. The
Oh.
color's teal for Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Ah, okay. We will be awarding Emily her ribbon next meeting. Okay.
Great.
Thank you. I have here on my desk, before we go further, and while stumbling around here, Tim, or Commander Bell, did you give us these handouts? No. Okay, this, what? Oh. Okay. Let's move on then to the consent agenda. Ryan, would you like to cover that for us?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, item 8A is to approve the minutes for the regular city council meeting on March 17th, the vision committee meeting on March 19th, the special meetings on March 11th, which was recreation district, March 17th, which was an executive session, March 18th, which was a community relations meeting, March 25th, which was an art committee meeting, and March 26th, which was a water committee meeting. 8B authorizes the mayor to accept the resignation of Historic Preservation Commission member. 8C authorizes the city administrator to sign a co-responder consultant services agreement. 8D authorizes the city administrator to sign a professional services agreement with Werner Water Engineering in an amount not to exceed $27,950. 8E awards bid 23-25 Daniel Defense Rifles to Blue Line Firearms in an amount not to exceed $19,875. 8F awards bid 24-25, pavement data collection and planning to MDS Technologies in an amount not to exceed $25,000. 8G awards bid 28-25, vegetation management to Moonrock Landscaping in an amount not to exceed $135,000. 8H awards bid 29-25, valve actuators to Applied Controls in an amount not to exceed $20,156.55. 8I awards bid 31-25, sodium silofluoride to Harcoros in an amount not to exceed $8,500. 8J awards bid 32-25, meter pits and lids to Fort Line Waterworks in an amount not to exceed $40,000. 8K awards bid 36-25, Greater Tire, ratifying an amount of $7,781.19 to Southern Tire Mart. 8L awards bid 38-25, 2025 pickup trucks to Daniels Long Chevrolet in an amount not to exceed $127,260. 8M is to ratify and file cash disbursements, and 8N is to receive and file cash disbursements and P-card disbursements.
Any discussion on that from anyone? Amy?
Thank you. I have one comment on 8K and a couple of questions on 8F. On 8K, I just wanted to note that this is a ratification because the purchase was made over the amount that's limited by charter. So I know that the city is planning to review the purchasing policy later this year, and I would just ask, we have these happen a couple of times a year, so I just ask that we really take a look at how do we prevent that from happening in the future, and how do we have the right checks and balances within our city departments to ensure that they don't occur in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks. With regard to 8F, if I may? Thank you. I'm really excited to see that we're looking at a longer-term planning effort for first assessing the current condition of all of our street pavements and then trying to figure out what should a 10-year prioritization look like, both if 2A is extended and if 2A is not, so that we have a longer-term plan and so that folks know when their streets might actually be repaired. One of the things that I'm concerned about, though, is that our current major thoroughfare plan, I believe, dates back to 1996, and that's where we designate whether a street is an arterial, a collector, or a local street. And this 10-year prioritization plan is essentially an overlay. So how much a street is prioritized is based on how many people actually drive down it. And if we are doing that cross comparison with something that's almost 30 years old, I know in some parts of town the traffic flow has changed significantly over the past almost 3 decades. So I would just ask, I don't know how big of a lift it would be for staff to take a look at that plan and ensure that where it does need to be updated, it is. But if we're putting money towards coming up with a long-term 10-year prioritization plan, I'd really like us to ensure that we're prioritizing the right streets based on current traffic patterns. So I don't know, Director Evans or Administrator Stevens, if you can give us a sense of how big of a lift is that, and is that something that could feasibly be completed along the same time frame? Is that something that can be done this year, or what does that look like? Thanks.
Leo, you want to take that one?
I don't know that I can answer it on the spot, but it's definitely something I can go back in tomorrow and take a look at that plan and see how much work went into the last effort and try to see if that's something we could pull off in conjunction with this rating analysis, just to make sure that's still valid or not, and get an answer back to Ryan so he can get that to you.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I guess I wonder as well, is there a way to, in the initial strategy meeting, essentially come up with a tier ranking system with MDS, the contractor for this effort, so that if that effort can't be done until the end of this year during a slow season, say, that you could then adjust kind of what the 10-year prioritization effort looks like. The last thing I would want to do is hamper other efforts that are ongoing that may be a little bit more time sensitive, but I'd also hate to lock us into a 10-year prioritization of our street without due consideration of how traffic flows have changed.
Yeah, I think Leo and I could put our heads together and try and come up with something. You know, I don't know if it's unfortunate or fortunate these days. We don't have a whole lot of slow season for the engineering team. Our team has been pretty busy year-round. Usually the winter months are slower, but we've been keeping them pretty busy lately.
Yeah, and I'd say we can certainly work that into the scoring so that whatever matrix we get, we can adjust it later if a classification of a street changes and reassign whatever that score would be for a street after the fact. That shouldn't be a problem.
I look forward to hearing back from you on kind of when that effort might be able to take place and how large of an effort it might be. Thank you.
Well, is this the same type of study we did before? Are we overlooking the street? Is it the same thing? So that we would be covering essentially what Amy is saying, that should there be extraordinary use that we didn't have before, that would come up in that report, don't you think?
So this is looking at pavement conditions, similar to like they did
Yes.
before the initial 2A.
Right.
It did not specifically look at thoroughfare plans back in 2013,
I guess
2014?
2013-ish, yeah.
Okay,
It'll be a little bit different effort, but some of the data will overlap for sure.
okay, all right, Andrea.
Okay, I had a question about P-card disbursement for Acorn Petroleum. Is that the little service place that's on the riverfront?
Acorn also provides occasionally provides bulk fuel to our fueling station up at the 9th Street shop.
Okay, so it's not our people going there.
Correct. We have our own fueling station, and we will go with the lowest, whoever has the lowest fuel prices when it's time to refill that station.
And so that is bid out, of course.
Yeah, we do that at the beginning of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Any other questions of council? If not, then I would entertain a motion from council and a second. Who would like to make that motion? Kathy?
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Tim, second, thank you. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing and seeing none, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Schmisher?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Aye.
And yet another high spot of the evening, the city administrator's report.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Sure.
You have the written reports in your packets, a couple of updates right before this meeting. I sent an update from our special attorney regarding energy matters, regarding Black Hills and their, I guess, appealing the rate decision. So that will continue to go through that process, and we'll keep you advised as we continue to go through that. Some other information also kind of related to Black Hills. I had sent out an email a few weeks ago about meeting with Pueblo's Public Works Director regarding Pueblo's efforts to municipalize. We are working on setting up a special meeting with the Energy Committee and offering, making that available for City Council to attend as well. Right now, it looks like we're looking at April 28th at 10 a.m., which would be when the Energy Committee would have normally met. So we just got that information just before this meeting as well. So we'll get those invites out and reach out to the Energy Committee as well. Happy to take any questions about the written report. One last thing, we realized that we missed an agenda item on tonight's agenda, which was the ordinance for the revolving loan fund. So we're working with Corey to figure out what we need to do next. So
There's a vote coming up in Pueblo about whether they would take that back, the energy back, electric back to the city.
Yes,
And
sir.
you still have that is that vote going to occur prior to or after the 28th?
That will happen after the 28th.
Okay.
That happens same, I believe it's the same day as the Recreation District
Okay,
election.
okay.
Thank you.
Amy?
Thank you. City Administrator Stevens, could you give us an update on East Main and when that may reopen to the public, and also on regular Main, and kind of what is the current status, and when folks might see completion of those projects? Thanks.
Yeah, East Main, we are still working with Atmos through an insurance claims process through their insurance company. We have our contractor lined up to come and do some additional repairs after the water line was hit. There's still a leak that's going on there, and that needs to be repaired. So we're going through their process right now. I don't know that we have a timeline for when that will be fully reopened at this point. And then Main Street right here in front of City Hall, we are continuing to work, or the contractor's continuing to work through that project, making some really good progress here. Should be paving here in the next week or two. Week and a half. So that'll be the south side of Main Street, and then they will start the north side of Main Street right after that. There is less work on the north side of Main Street because most of the utilities have already been taken care of on the south side, so there aren't any utilities on the north side. We're still looking at about a mid-May completion date for the Main Street project.
Thank you.
Thank you. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a question on that. When they finish the south side of Main Street out in front of us here, will that be open to traffic then?
It will. So just like the north side's open now, we'll reverse and open up to the south side to traffic as well. Making sure nothing's changed. I see Leo nodding in the back.
Is there, I understand the Blossom Festival will run counter what it used to. Do you have any knowledge on that? In other words, it'll go from the east now to the west. It'll marshal down at the middle school and come west. Is that?
That is correct. So the alternative plan for the parade would be to run it in reverse. So it would start down towards the middle school and go west on Main and then turn off at 4th Street. Oh, nope. Plans have changed.
We met with the Police and Blossom Committee last week. The parade route will start at 5th Street and go to the east on Main. So all of their staging area will be either side of 5th Street north of Main. Parade will come down 5th Street, turn east on Main, and end at the middle school like it traditionally does. Just starts about 2 blocks short of where it normally would.
So it will just go from west to east like it always does?
Correct.
Okay.
Miss a couple days, you miss a lot.
Okay.
Thanks, Leo.
Yes.
Thank you, Leo. Well, all right then, any other discussion from council? Let's move on to number 9. This is introduction and first reading by title only of Ordinance 3, Series 2025, entitled, An Ordinance of the City of Canyon City amending various provisions of Title 9 of the Canyon City Municipal Code concerning firearms to comply with the U.S. Supreme Court case New York State Rifle and Pistol Association Incorporated versus Bruin, and to partially opt out of Senate Bill 24-131. Could we have comments from the administrator?
Yes, sir. Thank you. We had a committee meeting about a month ago regarding this topic. So as the mayor mentioned, there were some changes through a ruling at the Supreme Court, as well as some additional legislation that was passed at the state level that has prompted us to relook at this. This is reflective of what we discussed at that meeting. So we are opting out of the state's regulations. This takes us into compliance with the Supreme Court ruling. With this ordinance, the only place where guns would be prohibited, or firearms would be prohibited, would be within the courtroom itself. And Catherine, anything that I missed or anything you want to cover in addition to that?
Yeah, so if I can just clarify a little bit. So the first part of the ordinance is the kind of coming into compliance with Bruin and the sensitive areas that were set forth in that case. So you'll see changes that remove prohibitions on firearms that were there previously. And then the opting out section is section 5 of the ordinance, and so that's chapter 9.52, and that's been pretty much completely rewritten. So your opting out is A, 1, 2, and 3, so that's where you're opting out of a prohibition on guns under SB 131. And then B is the firearm, and it's in any courthouse or any building or portion of the building used for court proceedings. That is this exact language out of the state law. So, and we talked about, you know, matching up with Fremont County, and this does that. So.
Okay, let's have Emily, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Something that hasn't stuck in my head for some reason is this is just a broader question for Catherine or for city administrator. Under our current state law, and under current city ordinances, are there prohibitions to open carry anywhere under either set of those laws?
So I'll start with the state law. So the opt-out, or the state law sets forth 4 areas, and so the 3 that you opted out of, and then the courthouse. And it is open carry and concealed. So it is the carrying of a firearm, period. Now, we talked about when we had the work session that, you know, some clients of mine have split that, where they have kept the prohibition on open carry and allowed concealed carry, or vice versa, or whatever. You can split it however you want, but the way that the city did it was just by area, and so it is lawful to carry open or concealed a firearm in the 3 places that are listed under that subsection A.
And somehow, I don't think I realized that when we talked about it in committee. I don't know about others on council, but I'm firmly opposed to saying it's okay to open carry in places like council chambers. And I don't mean to just be protective of council and staff, but I think we are better off if we're not allowing open carry all over the place. So I don't know what we need to do to change that. And I also, of course, don't know if others agree with me on council, but I'm just opposed to the idea that we would allow open carry at council meetings, and there's probably other places too. I mean, personally, I don't want to see it in stores, restaurants, etc. So I just need, you know, a little bit more discussion, clarification on that.
And I can tell you that under Bruin, you're not going to be able to go outside these 4 areas. These are the only sensitive spaces recognized under Bruin and state law. So restaurants, stores, you're not going to be able to regulate that.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. I just didn't have it in my head, and certainly look forward to more council discussion on that. And, you know, if the majority of council is okay with open carry in council chambers, I'm still not, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Emily. Amy.
Thanks. I had 2 separate questions for Catherine. One, let's see, the new section 952010A2 is any building owned by the city in which an official meeting of the city council is currently taking place. I know that we somewhat infrequently have official meetings of city council in places that are not here. And I'm wondering, in the years that I've been on council, it hasn't necessarily been in the municipal court building, but I am concerned that there may be the potential for conflict between A2 and B. Or sorry, A2, and I guess that would be A4 maybe, where it states that folks are not allowed to carry within the courthouse. So I'm wondering if there's anything that we can do from, if we as a city ever had an official city meeting in the police station or in the courthouse. So I'm just wondering if there's anything that we can do from a legal perspective between first reading and second reading to make that a little bit more clear.
Absolutely, you can amend on first reading.
Because I would want to make sure that we are 100% clear that folks are not allowed to carry into the courthouse, even if we as a city are having an official meeting there.
I think it just says courthouse, it just covers it. Whether you have a meeting there or not, doesn't matter.
Right, but A2 says any building owned by the city in which an official meeting of the city is currently taking place.
I would still think the courthouse is an overriding ingredient to that any courthouse, whether we owned it or not.
I would hope so. I would just want to make sure that our lawyers agree with that distinction.
Yeah, I think the more specific courthouse provision will apply. That's the way laws are interpreted. But I also don't see an issue with saying any building with the exception of a courthouse is, in referenced in subsection B below, owned by the city, just to kind of clarify that if city council is in the municipal court building, the court building rules apply. I'm assuming that's where you're going.
Yes, but if you don't see a concern with how it's currently written, I defer to your...
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. But
okay.
We could easily make the change too for clarification. I have no issue either way.
My other question has to do with B. It notes the individuals who are allowed to carry into the courthouse if the person, while performing official duties, is any of the below personnel, and it mentions defense counsel personnel, and I'm wondering, but it doesn't mention prosecutorial personnel, and I'm wondering if that's because of our current city prosecutor, or if it's if this is directly mirroring the county's language, or where this specific list of people comes from.
I will double check, but I think law enforcement personnel includes prosecutors.
Oh, sure.
And not defense counsel. So
even if they're city prosecutors and not part of the judicial district?
I believe so, but I'll double check for you.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thanks, Amy. John?
Just a brief comment on that. When I first moved to Canyon City, the Chamber of Commerce had a program where they took different individuals around to all of the different government functions within the county, and that included the courthouse. And when I went there, it was a different sheriff than what we have now. And this subject came up, and I asked the sheriff, I said, "Sheriff, do you require any of the judges to have a concealed carry permit if they've got a gun under their robes?" And he says, "I'm not going there. I'm not going there."
That's funny.
Just I thought that was humorous. But on one of the other concerns that we heard about, stores and restaurants and things like that, private property owners do have the right to establish their own rules for those type of situations.
Yes, they still do.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
On that note, I have a question. Bars, taverns, is it legal to open carry in a bar or a pub or a tavern that necessarily isn't food as the primary business?
I believe so, yeah,
It's
unless
legal to
the
carry.
owner doesn't want it to occur, yeah.
Okay, but it's definitely not legal to be consuming alcohol and carrying, either concealed or open, correct?
That's my understanding, but that might be a better question for Commander Bell.
So what it would come down to is the intoxicated level that person is in. We, as law enforcement, would have to prove that the person was under the influence of alcohol. But to that degree, it is illegal to possess a firearm while under the influence of alcohol. So the interpretation from our district attorney's office, the last time I checked, was that it falls into the same lines of us being able to prove that the person was inebriated to a point where it was unsafe.
Okay, and then it could be up to the owner of the business whether they allow it or not on
Correct.
an individual basis.
That's correct.
Okay, that comes up quite a bit.
Yep,
Yeah.
we've seen it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Commander. Any other questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion and a second. Someone like to try that?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we pass ordinance 3, series of 2020 on first reading.
Is there a second? Yeah. Works.
Second.
Okay. Motion been made and second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, would you call a roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Schmisher?
Aye.
Stein?
Nay.
Tracy?
No.
Worthington?
Yay.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to B, on number 9B. It's an intergovernmental agreement with the Canyon City Area Metropolitan Recreation and Park District regarding community recreation pool. I invite the administrator to discuss that.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In November of 2024, the voters authorized a sales tax increase of 0.3%, along with approval for the Recreation District to take out debt for the construction of a new pool. These two initiatives were tied together. Third ballot to fund operations did not pass. The attached intergovernmental agreement between the city and Rec District outlines the use of the 0.3% sales tax to construct the swimming pool and how it will be transferred to the Recreation District. There have been a lot of negotiations that have gone back and forth for several months trying to work out this agreement. I think we've all come to an understanding. Mr. Horn, the executive director for the Recreation District, provided me the signed copies. This has already been approved by the Recreation District Board. And here for your consideration tonight, do have several members of the board as well as Executive Director Kyle Horn here if there are questions for the Recreation District.
Any questions of Mr. Horn? Well, you're not going to let him off that easy, are you? Amy, yeah, I see you're going for it. No?
Not for Mr. Horn, no. I did have one question
Oh, go
for
ahead.
Administrator Stevens. Did the Rec District make any changes after our attorney's changes to their
No.
changes to our changes?
No.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, I would say one more thing, and maybe Kyle does want to speak on this topic, is you mentioned the school district earlier and the success they're seeing with their projects. I believe the Recreation District is looking at hiring the same owner's rep for the school district project. So hopefully they will see the same type of success.
Well, that'd be great. Several of those conference meetings I've gone to, and every time they say the same thing, and I'm rather envious of those people, and they're sharp and they're on budget or they're ahead, and it's just amazing to me. And there's a lot of construction going on. If you haven't been out there looking at our schools, please do that. So that'd be great if we could. Would you like to comment, or Mr. Horn?
So the Board of Directors authorized us to hire Wimber, and so we have entered into a contract with Wimber at this time. They also understand that no money has been flowing through, so they actually, through basically some kindness of their own heart, decided to roll the dice and say, okay, we're going to get RFPs ready to go for design. So one of the things that is happening is that if you do approve, RFPs will go out tomorrow morning to businesses to work on design. That way, the idea is the community can know before any other operations come potentially in a November ballot question, who's designing it, what the design looks like, who's doing the engineering, and who's also the general contractor. The other thing that was in the IGA was that we'd be working cooperatively with City Council. So City Council, you will need to decide who those two members are going to be working with the Recreation District as we go through the process of selecting and awarding some of these RFPs, working on design and things like that. So we are here. The board has stressed on numerous occasions, the last several meetings, that we want to continue the cooperative efforts that have occurred, but not just between the Recreation District and City Council, but also with the school district. So we want to make sure that that continues to happen. And so the next step would be RFPs going out, and hopefully by the end of this month, maybe middle of next month, we will be having conversations about who we want on a short list to move forward on design, RFP going out for, the next one will be surveying and geotechnical work. And then the third one will be GC. So that's kind of the order, but we're already at a point where if you approve the IGA, the first RFP goes out tomorrow. So we want to get working as soon as possible.
Thank you, Kyle.
You got it.
Any other questions of anybody here in the audience? No? Then I would entertain a motion and a second on that intergovernmental agreement. We'd like to try that.
Mayor,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
move that we approve the intergovernmental agreement.
Okay.
And a friendly amendment, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement also.
Fine.
I'll second.
I'll sign it. No, anyway. Okay, any discussion? Oh, Jerry signed, seconded. Any discussion on that? None, would you call a roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy.
Aye.
Maloney.
Aye.
Schmisher.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Tracy.
Aye.
Worthington.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick.
Aye.
Well, thank you again. Very interesting evening, and our next regular city council meeting will be April 21st. And on Wednesday, we have a general government, urban renewal authority at 5 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
And at 6 o'clock, we have a general government meeting right here. And they are so exciting. I'm inviting you to come and listen in. So again, thank you. We're adjourned.